And we are live. Hey, everybody, this is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. Welcome to a live session. I'm actually doing two of these today. This one's sort of impromptu. I figure since I'm going to be here for an hour or two, I might as well do a live stream. And tonight, for my patrons, I'm doing a live miniature painting session. That usually goes about an hour. It could go over, but usually about an hour. It starts at about 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you're a patron of mine, you are welcome to join that. It's basically just a chat and paint minis. I find I'm very productive when I'm scheduling something like that. When I know people are going to be tuning in, I have my miniatures ready, my paints ready, and I'm ready to go. So yeah, hopefully interested in that, you'll come join me. And if you're interested in becoming a patron, I'll try to remember to include a link in the chat section in just a little bit. So what am I going to be doing today? Well, first off, welcome. If you don't know me, at least maybe you know my voice through my videos, but my James Floyd Kelly. I am the Tabletop Engineer, and this is my workshop. Welcome to my very cold workshop. I am in Atlanta, and it's still cold. I mean, it's 40 degrees outside, which probably is not cold to a lot of you, but to me, it's cold. And I have a heater right here next to the computer that is keeping hands warm at least. And I hope that it's not too loud on the microphone. I don't think the microphone is picking it up, but if you hear a slight whirring sound or blowing sound, that's the fan. And I hope it's not too distracting to you. So what am I going to be doing today? Well, I'm going to be painting. Specifically, I'm painting some terrain for a game called Frostgrave. If you don't know Frostgrave, it is a skirmish war game. It is fantasy. It is set in a city that has been covered in ice for 1,000 years, and it's starting to thaw, and adventurers are starting to go into the city and find treasure and monsters and stuff. It's a very fun game. It came out, I think, in 2014. I have been playing it almost since 2014. Golly, it's been 10 plus years. Can't believe that. I love the game. I frequently come and play it, and then I get away from it, and then I play it, and then I get away from it. And last year, I didn't play it as much as I wanted to, and I really missed it. And so when I was pondering on my channel and thinking about what I wanted to do for 2025, I really wanted to whittle down the number of games I play. I'm so scattered. I play so many games that it's hard to get consistency in like play. And so I wanted to start playing games that I like, but also that people want to see. And one of the games that no matter when I post videos or whatever, they always get lots of views, lots of comments, good feedback, is Frostgrave. So that's a no-brainer for me. People want to watch me play it. I want to play it. And that means you're going to get Frostgrave videos. So every Friday, I'm calling it Frostgrave Friday. Every Friday from now until whenever, I'll be posting Frostgrave videos. Usually they'll be gameplay videos, but every now and then I may throw in something like a painting session or some discussion about it. We'll see. So today I'm going to be painting up a very large piece of terrain. This is just the base. This is the base. And then I've got a lot of little pieces that, where's this? This one go over here? No, this one should go here. Let me see if I can put it together for you so that you can see the final. Come on. Okay, am I not doing this right? I'm not doing this right. Okay, so this must go here. Second. This is weird. Okay, so this goes. Does it go this way? 1, 2, 3. No. This is so odd. Oh, you know what? Duh. This goes on this piece, and then this piece goes here. Okay, now I've got it. I'm gonna put this all up here, and you're gonna see that it's really, it's kind of a crazy piece of terrain. It's very big, and when it's all said and done, it's gonna look awesome. It's got a nice. It's got flat areas for us to climb up on and wander around. Okay, let's see if I can lift this without knocking it over. There we go. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty good sized piece. Now I've gone ahead and primed it in black, flat black. And what I'm going to be doing in this live session is, while I'm chatting with you and talking to you, I'm going to be dry sponging it with a gray, and then I'm going to dry brush it with maybe white, and then I'm going to give it this icy blue dry brushing, which gives it a wintry look. Going for now, the camera may not do this justice. In person, it looks awesome. This has been primed in black, gray dry brush, then the blue dry brush, and then I used Vallejo Diorama. This is snow. It's a big bottle of it, and I use it to put snow bits, here and there, just to give it that icy look. And that's what the final piece is going to look like. I have no idea how long this is going to take. It could take longer than an hour, and I am going to try to keep this at about an hour because I'd like to take breaks, and I've got to do some other stuff. I got to do some writing today. So here's how I'm going to do it. So this a lot of people will just take a brush. Need to get my brush. They will just take their brushes and they will dry this off. They'll just dry brush the gray on. And I used to do that. I've done it two different ways. I've dry brushed gray over a piece like this, but I've also used a sponge. The texture of the sponge gives it this really mottled, ugly, beaten look. Now the terrain, the 3D printed terrain, has already been distressed. It's got lots of texture and beat up. So when you sponge it, you'll see. Once I get the gray on, you'll see. Now I think what I'm going to do, just for time purposes, I'm going to do the big piece first. There's a lot of areas inside, and there's some areas that will be covered, but even though they're covered, you can still look up in there, and I don't want to see black. So I'm gonna try to hit as much of it as I can. And Carl makes up. Hey Carl, how you doing? Carl, I am painting some Frostgrave terrain and just visiting with you guys. Anybody who wants to join the chat, I'll keep an eye on it and try to respond to you. But so what I normally do when I do this, you don't need the whole sponge. What I'm going to do is I typically create 2 or 3 sizes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a thin one. This I'm going to cut in half, and I use these in the small surface area to get down in the corners and the edges and the nooks and crannies. That's these 2 small ones. Next, I do a medium size one. I cut one long, and then I cut it in half into 2 pieces. These will be for bigger wall areas. And then just in case, because I do have some areas that are quite large, I'll do one big one like that. And before I get to using this, you'll notice that it has a flat edge here and a flat edge here. That will show up in your stamping. So what I typically do is I take my scissors and I just roughly cut that edge. I damage it with my scissors. And it makes it so that when you stamp, you don't end up with too perfect of a stamp. So let me bring this closer so I can actually read. The font is very small. Ernest, welcome, Ernest. Good to talk to you. Is that generic terrain or for a specific game? It's for Frostgrave. It's going to have this snowy effect, a blue dry brush over the gray, which gives it like it's covered in a sheen of ice, and then I put the snow texture down on it. And Carl says, I know you're an engineer, but if you rip the sponge rather than cutting it, yeah, it does. Tearing these, I guess I could. Yeah, you can. That's true. That's true. Never noticed that before. I like the cutting on the big piece because and I just tore my big piece. So that was not very smart. So anyway, it's okay. Just means twice as much work. Hey, Cal, welcome. It's good to talk to you, Cal. Those better be exacting cuts. Listen, I took with these exact scissors, like a year or more ago. And I have never, ever forgiven these scissors or myself, but I am always very careful with these, and I know where my fingers are. These are some of the sharpest scissors I've ever owned in my life, and I'm not kidding. They took like one of my middle finger on my right hand has a missing indentation on it. All right, so let's get to it. I am going to as for the gray, I have done enough experimenting. When I was doing these pieces, they're called scatter terrain, just small little ruins. I used a dark gray and a light gray. Can you see the difference in the shade? And honestly, it made no difference. Once I put the blue dry brushing on for the ice, it didn't matter whether it was light gray or dark gray. It looked the same. So I picked up the light gray, and that's what I'm going to go with. The main thing is you have to break up the blue. If you do the blue ice, I did test this over straight black, and it is horrible looking. I mean, as you would expect. If you've done any kind of painting, you know that with a flat matte black, if you do any kind of bright color, it doesn't do it. And by the way, this is from Folk Art. It is a matte finish, and it is called Calypso Sky. And it's the one blue I always go to when I want to do like an icy effect. That's probably the second or third bottle that I've gone through in the last few years, but it does work well in my opinion. All right, so I'm just squeezing out some gray. Now I'm working on a big, you can't see it, and I'm not going to lift it. I'm working on a big sheet of cardboard, and the reason I use cardboard is I can dip the sponge in the gray, but that's just too much paint. And then what I do is near the squeeze of gray, I dab it so I get it off, but it's still close enough. I can get the sponge slightly wet if I need to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down in the inside here and just show you. As I'm stamping it, I rotate the sponge, and I end up with just a ugly effect. But it really, for me, it does the job. And you'll know, you know, if the gray paint starts wearing down, you just re-wet your brush or your sponge, dab it off on the cement, and then just go to town on any of the flat areas that you can find. And I usually go big, and then I go medium, and then I go small. I try to get as much covered as I can with the big brush, obviously, so you do less stamps. And then I go with the medium. Now for stairs, I typically use the small one to do steps on stairs. If you use the big one, what you end up with is highlights on the edges of the stairs, almost a solid line of paint. Your mileage may vary, but that's how it does for me. So here on the side, I just rotate my hand, trying to get as much covered as I can. And like I said, wherever there's any areas that are not covered, like right there, I'll go in with a smaller medium at a later time. For columns like these, you can just try lighter so that you don't stamp them too hard. And always remember to try to rotate your hand so that you don't get a pattern going. Believe it or not, a sponge, you would think that you won't see a pattern, but you can, especially if there's like a big hole on the sponge. You could sometimes see that repeated over time. And just speaking from experience here. So I hope you guys I don't know if you guys are at work and just like tuning in sort of from work, or if I guess for some of y'all, it's probably nighttime. Like Carl, I suspect he's late evening for him. He's overseas or outside the US. I'm overseas. So yeah, the problem with a big piece like this is just holding it. It gets tiring. So I'm hitting the stone rubble on the side here, and I'll do as much as I can with the big sponge and then go back and do the little bit later. And the good time to do the columns, by the way, is when the sponge starts getting low on paint. Then you don't accidentally make a mistake and put too much on. And ultimately, even if you make a mistake and you put too much on, it will self-correct once you start doing that dry brushing of the blue. Humans are surprisingly good at spotting patterns. Yes, we are. Our brains and our eyes will spot patterns. And I used to think that's not true with like random like this. I see my own patterns. I'll be like, oh man, there's a pattern there. And so you try to avoid it if you can. All right. Carl, yeah, at work, so mostly listening, says Cal. You're at 8 p.m. here, chilling and crafting. All right. So So what else is going on in my world? Well, my kids are back in school. That's always, they would say, well, actually, I think one of them just got home. They would say that that's not a good thing. I always think thing. Because usually when they're home, all they're doing is bugging me every 30 minutes saying, I'm hungry, I'm bored. And they're good kids, but they do have their moments where I just am grateful when school's back in session. All right, I think, well, nope, I keep finding areas that I missed. And that is one thing I do with miniatures as well. I always think, oh, I'm done. And then I look over and I find, oh, I'm not done. Okay, I'm not done. I got to do, it's always something. All right, I'm trying not to do the stairs, so I'm not going to do the stairs. And just, I think that's about, let's see. Oh, found some columns. I didn't, or some, yeah, not columns, some arches inside there. Arches are hard to get to, so I try to do them with the big one is when I can, and then hit them with the smaller stuff. All right, that's about the best I can do with the big one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside, and I'm just going to do a smaller one because I think probably I'll be able to finish one of the smaller ones and show you the full effect when all is said and done. Lunchtime here, Craft of the Yeti. Hey, welcome, Craft of the Yeti. Says, I love my kids, but notice we go through a whole lot more groceries when they are on break for school. You heard that right. Oh, man. I mean, my wife was buying like pizzas, frozen pizza in like 5 packs, 5 at a time, because my boys will put some pizza down. And when they have friends over, let's not even talk about the friend thing. Dad, we're all hungry. Yeah, great. I get to feed the neighborhood. I mean, I enjoy it. I love that my boys have good friends and all, and their friends pay it back. I mean, my kids go over to their homes and are fed, but man, it sure does hurt the grocery bill when you have teenage boys. I have 2 boys, so it definitely adds up. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm using the big brush just to get everywhere. This piece is so small and it's easy to hold. I can manipulate it pretty easy. Hey, David, my friend is on. If you don't know David, you should get to know him. He has a website called Tektronix. He makes electronics that go into your terrain to give it lights and animation and stuff like that. It's good to see you, my friend. And I think I wished you a happy birthday last week, but I'm pretty sure I did. But happy belated anyway. Can do it in person or semi-person right now. But David and I, we've got some plans for 2025 for some projects. We'll probably get to those later. And but yeah, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Kraft says it's a lot of fun to have a bunch of kids over. It is. Hey, Ron talks tabletop. I'm so glad you guys are with me. I really wasn't sure that at 1:30 Eastern if I was going to get anybody. I was like, it's not a great time. I thought about doing it at lunch, but I had to run errands. I had to go to the post office and run some errands for my wife, so that was out. And there you go. So there is one more piece. Now there are some areas in here that I cannot get small version, and I'm going to use Carl's. I'm going to rip off the end. There we go. Got an uneven end. Carl, you get credit for that. And that one I will use to get down in the nooks and crannies. I can get up in the gables where the roof line is. I can get down near the corners where the walls come together. There's just certain areas that you just can't get with the bigger sponge. Or if you do, your fingers tend to like scrape what you've already done and it can smear it. So I try to be careful and only use the right size sponge for what I need. So let me just finish this up real quick and I'll show you how it looks. All right, so I'm going to set this one aside. And did I get in the door? Always get in the windows too. I always forget to get down in the windows. You don't want a solid black there. All right. I think that looks good. All right. So there is a piece that I'm going to sit aside just for a few minutes and I'm going to put it up on my heater. put anything on top of heater, but I'm feeling brave today. I don't think that little piece of plastic is going to hurt it, and the top doesn't get warm at all, so it's not going to melt the plastic. Sorry, had to drink something. David. Oh, wait, David, Mia. Where's Mia? Is Mia on? I'm a little late. Oh, Mia, Geek Dad. There, I was looking for the word Mia, not Mia. Hey, Mia, how are you? Welcome. Let's see. Crafty is a lot of fun to have a bunch of kids. Will your Etsy store eventually ship to Canada? I do ship to Canada. Here's the problem. Etsy, they're the shipping settings with Etsy, you have to define it. I could say I cover shipping, but I don't, because shipping is crazy expensive. It doesn't, it used to be that you could define one rate for like east of the Mississippi and west. Not anymore. California is crazy to ship to, Washington State. So shipping has to be calculated based on the weight of the item and the quantity and all that. So the box dimensions and stuff like that. So Etsy is a real pain to ship outside of the US. So typically what I do is I try to get the word out that for my European, Canadian, Australian, South American, I've shipped all over the world. I am happy to ship to you. You just need to communicate with me via email so I can do it via PayPal, because Etsy is just, I hate dealing with Etsy's shipping service. So there you go. Tyler, welcome. Hi, Tyler. I am good. Good, Mia. It was a lot of fun to have a bunch of kids. Okay, so I think I'm caught up. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Again, as I said, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, I don't know. I may not get anybody. But so for those of you who came late, all I'm doing is painting up some Frostgrave terrain. By the way, when I started playing Frostgrave back in 2014, 2015, there was not a lot of Frostgrave terrain. You had to make it. I mean, you could buy some. There was some terrain out there that was like laser cut, and there was some 3D printed, but it just didn't have a style or a character to it. It was very like four walls, ceiling, roof, that kind of thing. 3D printing has just, gamers who really want to get immersive and have their tabletop just look as authentic as it can be, 3D printing is great. Crafting, I have crafted my share of Frostgrave terrain. I've just kind of gotten tired of it. What I wanted for the longest time. Now, let me take a step aside here. When I started playing Frostgrave, setting is a frozen city, ice covered, snow covered, everything. But if you go and you Google or YouTube, go on YouTube and search for Frostgrave games, playthrough games, and a lot of them are mine. The terrain is very, a lot of them, or most of them, I think, don't have a snowy setting. Why is that? Well, for me, it's because if you create fantasy terrain, if you apply a snow or ice effect to it, you basically have defined what you can use it for, right? So if you use your terrain in like a D&D game or another war game that's a modern fantasy that maybe it takes place in a non-frozen area, you've locked your terrain sort of out. Play with it, but it just looks weird, right? You're deep in the jungle and you come upon a ruin, and then I slap down a ruin that's got snow effect on it. You get the idea. So when I started playing Frostgrave, I didn't have that effect. I missed it. I wanted my terrain to fit the setting. And it's only now, 10 years later, that I have finally decided, and I'm hoping you'll love this. I'm not gonna show it today. You're gonna see it Friday with my first Frostgrave video. I am going nuts painting Frostgrave terrain because I'm all in. I'm going all in on Frostgrave. That's why I'm painting so much terrain with this snow and frost effect. And there's a couple reasons I'm doing this. One, I want a game with that snowy effect. I want it to look like what Frost. Second is, I have a good friend here in Atlanta. His name's Robert, and he and I play Frostgrave at the game store a lot. And he always makes me feel bad because he brings the most awesome snow and ice covered terrain to play with. And when he puts it out, we play, and I don't care if I win or lose. It makes for the best photos. It makes for just an immersive, it looks great. And so those two reasons, I have decided I'm putting all my chips, I'm going all in, and I'm going Frostgrave. Now, I'm also doing it for Stargrave. And enough said. You're gonna for people who have been wanting to see more Stargrave. That's all I'm gonna say. It's coming. It's coming, and I'm going all in on Frostgrave. Let me catch up on your comments here. Samwa, hey, how are you? How do you prime so you have so good coverage? For me, no matter what I do, I always have. Okay, it's rattle can. I mean, all these pieces. This is root. I use 2X. What is it? Rust-Oleum. My leg is asleep. I use this one, Rust-Oleum 2X paint and primer, and it's flat. Don't use the glossy. If you use the glossy, you're ruining your terrain, because that glossy is going to mess up all dry, any kind of like extra colors you add or any dry brushing. It in my experience, the glosses don't go there. So that's how I do it. All of these have been primed. One coat. I don't go crazy. And you may see there are areas that didn't get primed, like under the window. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's okay. Just get it as best you can. And any areas that the gray, because I 3D print in gray, dark gray, you won't notice it. Once everything's brushed and dry brushed, you won't notice it. Random guy. Okay, thanks. Look forward to ordering a 2D6. Hey, thank you. I will get you your 2D6 dungeon board. Servatopia says, yay, Frostgrave. Yeah, yay, Frostgrave. Sorry to be late to the party. Just got out of a Cohort meeting. Love these paint chats. No problem. Welcome. Almost single-handedly got into Frostgrave. It's crazy how much there. He has certainly got me interested in Frostgrave. Yeah, Frostgrave. And it doesn't hurt that a friend of mine is Joe, the author. I met him years ago. We've sort of developed a friendship via email because he lives overseas in the UK. He has been to the States a few times where I managed to play some games of Frostgrave with him, and just a great guy. And it's nice to know the creator of the game. Carl says my Mordheim terrain doubles. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I believe that my friend Robert, a lot of terrain. I could be wrong. I think a lot of his terrain is because I believe he used to play Mordheim, and I would love to play Mordheim. There's just very rarely anybody at the game store. I every now and then, like once every 3 or 4 or 5 months, there'll be somebody be playing Mordheim. It's not enough. Let's see, more craft. I don't have enough space to store. Yeah, now that's the issue. Everything I 3D print has to be stored. Now, how do I do it? After I paint everything, I give it a clear coat of varnish to sort of hopefully protect the paint. I learned that because a lot of my foam stuff just hasn't survived over the years. You drop it or it hits the edge and it'll take a bite out and expose that pink foam underneath. With the plastic, you can give it a varnish coat and it'll protect it a little bit. I buy these every Christmas at Home Depot. And now those of you who don't have access to a Home Depot, I'm sorry, but here in the US, after Christmas, every year, never fails, Home Depot has this massive sale on storage bins. And so this last Christmas, I bought, and I don't have one with me. Do I? Well, I have a couple. I go and I buy some storage bins. And what I do is I'll stick this terrain in there, and it'll hold a lot. I can put all my Frostgrave terrain that I have so far in one bin. And I'm hoping to go for like 2 bins worth, and I should feel pretty good about that. All your Frostgrave stuff is going to distract you from your hero quest. Yeah, I know. Hero quest. Let's get on it, man. 2X primer does better. It does. Well, the 2X primer. You're right. They do sell just a 2X primer. I don't know why. I use the paint and primer because a lot of times I do wood projects with my laser. And so I use this because it saves me from having to do a double. And I don't like to paint by brush. So that's why I use rattle cans. Carl makes us say I'm magnetizing pins. Yeah. Lots of room. That's a great idea. Storage bins. Awesome. Yep. Random guy. Use some thin sprue glue on plastic terrain over the magnets to hide them from game pieces. Yeah, absolutely. The clear coat was the first thing the Grognards told me about when they were showing me the crab. Yeah, I have, and it lasts forever. I mean, I buy a can. maybe once every 3 or 4 months, and I use it and it just seems to last forever. And I think it's probably because it's not thick like a paint. So I think they can put more in a can, if that makes, I don't know. I'm just making that up. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels that way. And I suspect there is some truth to it. Let me squeeze a little more out here. I'm gonna do a dry brushing of some blue in just a second. What I'm doing is this little one, I'm using the little brush to get up in there in the corners and around the, all right, so see the stairs, see under the stairs, how I can't get in there? Under the stairs, I can use this and get up in there, and I give it the random, so it's done. Actually, I missed, where did I miss? Back here. So there you go, got up under there. And you can also get in the corners, like here, you can just, it'll let you get in there. And, oh, stairs, yeah. So there's the stairs. This is what I want. This is why I picked this piece. So with stairs, you want to use the smallest one you can, because otherwise you end up with white lines on the steps. So what I do is I hold it to where I can see the steps, and I just walk up the steps with the brush. You're gonna get more paint on the edges anyway, but see that? Now the black, that's the riser, that's the vertical part. You can flip it and you can go back, and the riser is usually hard to get into because it's usually small. Unless the steps are really big on your terrain, the risers are usually hard to get into. But you can see I kind of got in there, and then I'll get the side of the staircase, the brick, and then I'll switch gears and get in here with the back wall, and almost done with this piece. So let's see, right? Nice. So the magnets are practically, yeah, plus you don't use them. But yeah, a lot of people use magnets. One of the reasons people use magnets is because they often use their terrain in role-playing games where the miniatures to go inside. I don't do that. So I glue my terrain together. And that's going to make some people shudder and shake their head. But I don't, this ruinous terrain, if I really need it in an RPG, I'm fine carrying it the way it is. I don't need it to be put together. But if I did want to have it broken down, this particular creator, I just went blank on the name. I'll get it for you. This particular creator does not the designs are not integrated with holes for magnets. You'd have to do that on your own. And there are YouTube tutorials out there that teach you how to do that, like how to import the file into like Tinkercad or some other tool, and how to the holes for the magnets. But again, it's just a step I thankfully don't have to do because all this is going to be glued together. I ordered something called 3D Gloop. Some of you probably know about it. I'm new to it. Somebody told me I am super allergic to super glue. So what I do is I put a full head mask on, a fan over here on full blast, blowing the air across, so that when I'm using the super glue, the fumes are moved away from me. Somebody told me 3D Gloop is better for attaching PLA, which this is PLA, to PLA, and that it doesn't have CA in it, a cryoacetate, or I'm not a chemist, but so I ordered a bottle finally because the stuff was like unavailable for months. It's so hard to find. And I got a notice that it was in stock. And so I went and I placed an order for one bottle to test it out. It's not cheap. It's $34 for a 4-ounce bottle. This is 2 ounces of paint. So 4 ounces of two of these basically for like $34. If it doesn't work, I'll have learned, but everybody tells me it works great. So I'm hoping that it's going to allow me to limit my exposure to CA glue. Spray paints have acetone or something in them for plastic, so the paint also embeds itself into your model, which is why it adheres better. Yeah. I've never had any trouble super gluing painted plastic to paint, but I typically, I'm not rough with my terrain, so maybe it's just because I haven't dropped any of it. I don't know. Yeah, spray paint. My hands don't fit so well inside builds. I will do a separate map for interiors. Yeah, I just don't. I really wish creators, 3D print, 3D modelers, I really wish when they designed a structure like the one I'm doing here, I wish they would go back and hollow it out for people who just want the exterior. And you know what? That day is probably coming. I think 3D printing is just exploding. I mean, we thought it was big 5 years ago. It's insane what you can find these days on My Mini Factory or Thingiverse and things like that. I think the day is coming when creators will realize that the way they distinguish themselves from every other creator is they have to offer something that you can't get elsewhere. And one of those things is going to be, I don't need the stairs, take them out. Now, I could do it. I could import this into Tinkercad, and I know how to cut out a section. But not being a modeler, it would look like somebody just took a perfectly square chunk out of there, especially if you looked in there, you'd see it. So I'm hoping over time that more and more models will start to become available that don't have interiors. Like this one's perfect. It has windows and a floor. I don't even need the floor, although in this case, this floor is exposed. This is an area you can see. So this is good. But some of the stuff I paint is floorboards are done. I don't need the floorboards. Just, cut them out. Let's see. Absolutely. And printers are getting cheaper. So I mean, I remember I built my first 3D printer. I'm not like a friend of mine, Patrick, he designed his own CNC machine. And so I called him up one day and I was like, hey man, one of my publishers wants me to write a book on 3D printing. And I don't have a 3D printer. They were hard to get. Like the one at the time was called the MakerBot, and it was cutting edge at the time. Today it's hilarious when you see the change. But so Patrick says, well, you know what? Let's design one. I'll design one. You write the book. Happened. And so we ended up making one out of wood, and it was horrible. It worked, but it wasn't that great. I just think over the last 10 years, how 3D printing has gone. And now for the cost of one MakerBot, which at the time, say was around $1,000 or more, or maybe $1,200, now you can get what's called an A1 from Bamboo for like $350. And that's the single color printing. The multicolor one is like $500, but for $350, you can get the A1. And let me tell you, I've had the P1P from Bamboo. I love Bamboo printers. But that A1, if I didn't already have two P1Ps, I would probably get an A1. For $350, it is fast. No, you hardly see any layer lines. It's an incredible printer. So I'll just leave you there with that. Artisans of Vol is doing some good Blender tutorials that I follow to make changes. I'll check that out. I'm always looking for ways to save me time. And by time, that would be 3D printing things that I can, don't have, like the stairs. These stairs probably added 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to the total print time. And I think to myself, how much faster I could print all this terrain if I didn't have to deal with, the bits and pieces and stuff. All right, so here we go. So this piece is dry. It's dry. So let's do the ice effect. Now, again, I'm looking at the screen and you can see it. It's there, but in person, it looks nicer. Somebody told me, and I haven't done it yet, I may do it on one of these smaller pieces, that if I hit it with a gloss varnish, that it'll give it an icy sheen. I don't know. I'm going to try it on one small piece, probably not this one smaller, and see. But if that's an effect to give it an even more wet, icy look, I'm all for it. So I'm going to use this ice blue, and I'm going to hit this piece with it, and then hopefully the paint will dry in time so I can show you the snow effect. I bought a Bamboo A1 to replace my Anycubic. It should be arriving. Man, you're going to have I have an Anycubic resin, but I don't run it because I found out I'm allergic to that too. I have allergies are super glue, resin, and cranberries and strawberries. How you like that? Now you know something about me that you never needed to know or wanted to know, but those are my allergies. Yeah, I'm allergic to the resin for a resin printer. So that's why I have to use the FDMs here. All right, so I have squirted out a bunch of the blue. I'm using a brush for this. I get it coated on both sides. And then I have a paper towel, which I'm just going to, I don't want all the blue. Don't treat this like white where you want to get all the blue off. You just want to get, as much off as you can. And what I typically do is I do one side until I'm satisfied with it. And I'm not satisfied yet. And this blue on the black, it's the blue, the black and the gray. It's very subtle, but it gives it a, you can kind of, again, I wish the colors were a little better on this camera, on my webcam, but it's good enough. Excuse me. And remember, you got to do the inside and the outside if any of it's exposed. Now, this wood, I will first hit it with a brown, and then I'll go over it with the blue, because you want that brown hint underneath it of wood. I don't want the black. And I learned the hard way that, yeah, you definitely want to hit one of my other pieces. I didn't do the wood, and I did the blue first, and I'm like, so I went back and I painted the wood brown, and then I did the blue again, and it came out much, much better. So, and the other thing about the dry brushing is it doesn't take long to dry, right? If you've ever done any dry brushing, you know that it's very quick. It dries very fast, so you can get to the next step, which in this case, if I didn't want to apply the snow effect, it would be almost ready for assembly. Not yet, because I've got to paint the other piece. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces to make this, including the one big piece. 7 pieces to make it. So I'm going to be here a while, and I'm probably not going to do all of it today, just because my youngest son will be home from school in about 30 to 40 minutes. And that will be, I'll have to dedicate some time to him, making sure he does his homework, gets on it, make sure that he's any tests or anything that he's, I need to know. I get the 911, the 411 from him when he gets home every day. And I also get the pleasure of making him whatever, he's hungry. So I usually have to go get him food. So the inside is done, and I'm not going to do the brown. Well, I think I will. I'll do the brown real quick, because I am going to have time to do the snow effect before I cut the video loose. And by the way, if you're leaving, this is a business day, so don't feel like you have to stick around. If you've got work to do, real work, go. This video will become available probably 20-30 minutes after I end it. I think that's about how long it takes YouTube to process the video and make it available. So the thing about the wood is I also dry brush it. I use a different brush, not my blue one. I dry brush the brown a little heavier, and because you do want it to have that wood look, a little bit more than the blue that you're going to put on, but it's not heavy. It looks really heavy, but there's a lot of gray and black in there that I can see. And I'm going to set this aside and let it dry real good. And then we'll do the blue effect over the ground and do the snow effect. And like I said, the snow effect is Vallejo. It's called Diorama FX Ground Texture. And this is the snow version. Let's see. I feel more stoked to hear you keep praising Bambu. The only thing that scares me about Bambu is that they are being sued by Stratasys, which is the big 3D printing company that's gobbled up all the other ones over the years. And apparently Bambu has violated one or more of their patents. And so Stratasys is coming at them. And I don't know how that's going to resolve itself. Bambu is a Chinese company. So China can always say, "Hey, too bad. We're going to keep making them." I do worry that what may happen is Stratasys could end up buying Bambu. That might be part of when this lawsuit is settled 5 years from now or whenever. Maybe Bambu has such a financial burden on it that it has to sell itself to Stratasys. That would be one of the worst case scenarios, because I think Stratasys would do two things. It would either one of two things. It would either keep the hobby version open and it's an income source, or it would shut it down, absorb their technology and stuff, and continue selling the $1 million machines that they sell, and we're out of luck. So I just tell you that because if you have been in the market for a 3D printer, don't wait too long. You know, if you want a Bambu, and I have no financial incentive from Bambu. I'm not promoted by them or anything. I've never gotten any freebies from them. I own 2 that I have per money because when I first saw the Bambu operate, when I got my P1P, the A1 wasn't out. I got the P1P because I saw it I saw it being used at a maker space, and I was blown away. I went online, I did my research, watched videos, heard people unboxing it, watched them set it up and all that. So I bought my first one. Within 20 minutes, that thing printed a Benchy, which is the boat, and the boat that it's a standard file that you print. It had almost no layer lines, and it was so fast. My Ender 3, I think it would take like 4 to 6 hours to print that little thing. This one did it in like 45 minutes. It was insane. So I saved up money for like about a half a year, and I got a second one, which I don't want a printer farm. 2 is all I need. And as a matter of fact, I should have them going right now because I've got a never-ending supply of files from Thingiverse and stuff like that. I always take advantage of the coupon of the my mini factory. It seems like every month or every other month they have a sale with a code word. Last month for December, it was winter 24, and it got you either 40 or 50% off your purchases. I had just been adding things to a cart that I wanted, and it added up to like, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks. And then I used that code and I got it all for half price, and there you go. So I know that doesn't help the creators, but I can't really afford to buy $20 and $30, structures, that I want. I could, but I don't want to spend that kind of money. It's too much for a file. So I wait until they go on sale or until I get a coupon, and then I do it. Cranberries and strawberries. Yes. Strawberries are the worst. If I lick a strawberry, just lick it, I get a migraine in about 15 to 20 minutes. Cranberries and raspberries, if I drink or eat one, it's a 50-50. My wife hates it because I'll go out. I love cranberry. I love cranberry tea. I love cranberry anything. And it took me years to figure out that cranberries were giving me migraines, but I love cranberries. So we'd go out to eat at this restaurant a lot, this favorite restaurant. And they had this cranberry tea. It was squeezed cranberry tea. I loved it. And my wife would get so mad because it'd be like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And I'd order one. She'd be like, it's going to give you a migraine. I'm like, no, 50% shot. And I'm going to bed soon because I sleep my migraines off. I haven't found a medicine other than Excedrin that really helps. And if I take Excedrin past like 5 or 6 o'clock, I don't sleep well. It's got a caffeine in it. So my wife she gets so mad. She's like, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm like, but it tastes so good. Anyway, dry brushing, super rewarding, although it enhances. Yes. Dry brushing is definitely the way to go. I have you playing on the side monitor. I don't get the main monitor. Come on. Loved ones. Yes. David has, I guess you have P1S. You have a P1S. That's right. They're P1Ps. You have a P1S. I don't know what the difference is. Sorry. Does the P1S come with an enclosure? Because these are not enclosed. I can see them. It comes with files. I can print files. I can print sides and a front. You can color it and you can add graphics and things. I don't do that. I got other things I want to print rather than sides for the machine. I'd love to know Stratasys company value versus Bambu. Oh, Stratasys is, they've been around I knew them in college. And that was a long time ago. Stratasys, I don't know what out with, but they make those mega 3D printers that use that powder. Well, they have different brands of 3D printer, but the one that I remember was just a breakthrough it was powder. You fill this huge bin with powder and a laser hits it and it hardens the powder. And the guys would reach into the bin and they'd pull out this large object and they'd shake it and all the powder's falling out and they'd blow it dry and all. And it was it was kind of like the resin printers, but it was a slightly different technology. But I remember when that machine came out, I want to say it was over $1 million. It's probably much cheaper now. You can probably get it for 600, 700,000 now. Speaking of farms, my son got a Neptune 3 Max. That's a resin, I believe, right? I think that's a resin. I'd be a rich man if it wasn't for sales. Yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, Toby. Toby Lancaster has joined us. If you know Toby, he is the game creator of many games, but the one I love to play is called 2D6 Dungeon, and I've made many videos, but Toby's on here. It's good to see you, Toby. FDM. It is an FDM. Okay, I thought Neptune only made resin. I may be getting all my 3D printers confused. Neptune, I'll look it up. Neptune 3 Max. Not sure about that. Listen, don't have buyer's remorse. Whatever 3D printer you get, I had a printer bot. Does anybody PRINTRBOT printer bot? It was this little, this big. The print plate on it was about like this big, and it was buggy as it could be. But I used that thing for years and years and years, and then I got the Ender 3. Not the Ender 3 Max or the Ender 3 Super or the Ender 3. And I used that for years, and it was a great. And I had 2 Ender 3s in my workshop going when I saw the P1P being used, and I decided that's it. I'm done messing with these Ender 3s. I donated my 2 Ender 3s to my boys' school and got my P1P, and I have no regrets. But I tell people, don't have any regret. When you buy a 3D printer, there's going to be a fan base. There's going to be YouTube videos. There's going to be probably a Facebook page, all that. You got to join it all. You got to ask questions. You have to learn how your 3D printer works, because the more you learn how it works, obviously you're going to be able to fix it. But when you really learn how it works, you really start learning how to fine tune it and get it to produce what you want. So I would tell your son, take the Neptune 3 Max and become an expert. Become the person that you go on Facebook group and somebody's asking a question and you're able to answer that question. There is nothing better in the world, that feeling you can help somebody because you've encountered the problem they had. And I've asked many questions about this, and I've answered many questions about this. I've gotten to be pretty good and pretty fast at tearing down the print head into its component parts and putting it back together. I almost feel like I could be a spy and put a blindfold on and done. You know, I have become expert at these printers back here. He got it from me. There you go. Tyler, you become the expert then. Centering. Look the word up. Yep. Hi, guys. Epic Adventures already. Random guy. Yep. Oh, Epic Adventures ahead. Some new stuff for it. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So, all right. This is dry. It is. All right. So now it is time to put the snow on. So for this, I use these little, I almost tipped my drink over. I'm not going to tell you how many root beers I have tipped over on this work table. I'm embarrassed. All right. I use just a small, this is like a toothpick, but it's flat. I bought a bag of these years ago for crafting. I've got like 1,000 of them, and I found out they're perfect. This stuff actually looks like dried glue, but it's very soft. So you put it on your stick. And what I do is I first go over the bricks that are flat, like the snow would fall and pool. So I don't do them all. I start at the top and I work my way down. Can you see it? Right there. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's there. And on the tabletop, man, it looks so good. Once it's dried and hardened, it looks like snow on your bricks. And you just got to make sure you flatten it down. And I just go around and I put it sort of randomly where I feel like snow would pile up. You don't want to go crazy with it. I've seen someone, not my friend Robert. I'll go ahead. I saw a guy once go crazy with the snow effect, and it's you can overdo it. You can really overdo it. So the main thing is to hit the big areas, and then I like to put it in the windows where it probably blow in and stay pooled. And you go heavy on one, I go light on the other, just subtle differences. And then what I do is when you have these sloping sides, I like to just give it a scrape, like the snow is falling down, and just sort of coated it. And You do you. Now right here, I have a flat line of wood that's the skeleton of the roof, and I just sort of brush it. I don't try to make sense of it. And then lastly, in the corners, typically in the corners of buildings, you'll see snow that's in the corners and it's piled up. I guess either the sunlight doesn't hit it or shadow, it's in shadow, and so snow tends to build up in the corners and along the walls, where the walls meet the floor. And again, a couple more. You don't put them under window overhangs; it wouldn't get under there, or at least I don't think it would. And the last thing I do is for the floor, is I just put some smears of snow, just for and the other thing I meant to tell you was go in a different direction, and that is it. You could go and put a little smattering on walls if you really feel like it, but to me, a flat wall doesn't need a lot. Just a little little hint of it here and there, and you're done. And that is done. Now, granted, if I were a professional modeler and diorama maker, I would probably have spent hours doing what I just did, meticulously dry the wood with 6 different shades of brown. The blue effect be different bricks painted different shades of blue, then a gloss, and the snow. I suspect there are modelers that spend so much time, like, would the snow build up there, and would it's what? Look, you do you, and I have nothing. I am not making fun of those people that they win contests because of that meticulous nature. Me, all I want to do is get this on the table so I can play a game of Frostgrave, right? And so now I've got 5 small pieces to do like this, and of course I got to do the big one. This one will not make an appearance in Friday's Frostgrave game. That one's already been filmed. Instead, it will probably be, I got blue paint on the bottom. Instead, it will be probably the next one. I was going to film one. So typically what I do is when you're watching a Frostgrave game on Friday, I usually have 2 more videos already filmed and either edited or in editing. So I'm working 3 weeks out. Because I just started doing the Frostgrave, I'm about 2 weeks out. So I think you'll see this piece of terrain in the next scenario. Not this scenario is broken into multiple parts. It'll be the next scenario that you see this piece. So when you see it, hopefully you'll recognize it and go, hey, that's what Jim was working on in that live video, and you'll know. So let me look at your comments real quick. Let's see. I bought one, didn't open it for 1.5 years. Only did test print, failed, sold it a year later, just not where I wanted to spend my time. Are you talking about a bamboo or a resin? I'm not sure. David, I'm heading down to Austin for an interview. The chat has been. Good luck, David. Good luck. I hope it goes well, the interview. Do you have any advice for using inks on terrain printed with FDM? Don't they run into layer? I have seen people. I don't do it. I do washes. I won't do it on big pieces like this, but on if I were like painting a fireplace and it had a lot of intricacies, like things hanging on the mantle and stuff, I might hit it with like a dark wash, like Army Painter dark wash, because it will get into the nooks and crannies and crevices, and it makes it look more realistic. But no, I've never used inks. There are certain things that I put over there with the pros, and I put myself over here with the amateurs, and I don't want to move into the pro area. If inks, I have way too much time on my hands, so I'll leave it at that. Is Frostgrave designed for solo? It is. It wasn't initially. Joseph released a book for it, an expansion book, and I have it, but it's too far away to get. It's called, hang on. It's called Perilous Dark. Perilous Dark. I think that's the one. Perilous Dark. And it came with rules for playing the scenarios solo and for running games solo. And even before that book came out, I have no trouble running Frostgrave solo. You just basically, it's you versus the environment and the creatures. Whereas when you're playing a 2-player game, it's you and another wizard. You're fighting over, you're trying to survive the creatures, but you're also trying to kill each other so you can get off. What I typically do in my Frostgrave games, which you will see, is up the ante with the wandering creatures a bit. There tend to be more wandering creatures entering the field as my wizard is trying to navigate and solve whatever he's supposed to do with his warband. So yeah, but there are Elegoo resin. Okay, gotcha. I can't really talk about resins because I haven't run my resin printer enough to even consider myself an amateur with it. The first time I ran it, I was very fortunate that I didn't get the fumes on me. But the second time, I got some on my hand, but I also got the fumes near my face, and I reacted to it. So are you playing custom homebrew scenarios, or are you playing from the books? You're jumping ahead of the game here. Yes, I am playing custom scenarios that I design myself. Every now and then, I will do one of the scenarios from some of the expansion books that I think are fun. I will not be doing the Core 20, which, if you don't know what the Core 20 is, when Frostgrave's first edition was upgraded to second edition, Joe created 10 new scenarios, but he included the original 10 from first edition. So there's this Core 20 scenarios in the second edition rulebook, and Frostgrave players and fans have played those 20 until you're in the face. And I have played them more than I want to. I don't want to play them anymore. So I will be reaching out to other expansions. There's like 8 or 9 expansion books for Frostgrave, and they all have their own scenarios and stuff. So there are scenarios that I even haven't played yet. I've played the Lich Lord scenarios. I've played the what was that? Started with an M. I can't remember. Malcor. I've played the scenarios in the Malcor book, but the more recent expansion books, I haven't gotten to those scenarios yet. So I will be interspersing my own custom content, solo games, with some of the newer, to me, the newer scenarios from some of the expansion books. So there you go. All right. Very cool. I'm excited to see what happens. Yep. Stay tuned. They're coming. All right, listen, we're at an hour 3. I hear footsteps up there, so I know he's home. Thanks for joining me. And I promise I'm going to do more of these. I'm going to try to do at least one a week. The time might vary, but again, I do record it, or it is recorded by YouTube, and it will be available in the live. If you come to my channel, it's not listed in the videos. It's under the live tab. And I don't know why it doesn't show up in the regular videos, but it's a live one. So plenty of these more to come. Love visiting with you guys. Love the chat. And I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. And I hope you have maybe some gaming this weekend. All right, everybody. I will try to post some follow-up comments on the video with the source of these files, and maybe a link to the Vallejo and stuff like that. So check that out. All right, everybody. Take care.